We heard you. 9 years of Bring Back the Snack Wrap, and you've won. But maybe you should have asked for more. Say hello to the Hot Honey Snack Wrap. Now you've really won. Go to McDonald's and get it while you can.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast, episode 361, the 2025 Year in Review, plus voicemails. Welcome to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, the #1 place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode. Hey there, Animation Addicts. I'm Morgan Stradling.
And I'm Chelsea Robson.
Happy 2026.
Look at us. We're in February.
We're in February, and we're going to be looking back at 2025. Hey, it's been busy.
Here's the thing. We also started the podcast in February because January is such a hard time to get stuff together. So in February 13th, I believe, 2013. Yes. So how many years has this been, Morgan?
No, 2012.
2012? Yeah,
2013 is when we dipped our toes into YouTube.
That's right. Right. Okay. So 2012, we're looking at 14 years on podcasting.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. All right.
I love it.
Nostalgia.
So, you know what? And it's funny because it's funny you say, oh, January's busy. And, that's why we're doing it in February. I have the same feeling about New Year's resolutions. Because of Christmas time and New Year's and like getting back into everything, especially with kids for me.
Yeah.
I just don't have the free time during break because everyone is home,
right?
To sit and let's think about my goals and let's do a vision board and plan out the year. It just doesn't work. And then I need January to kind of regroup and get back into things. So by the time February rolls around, like that's last week of January, I'm ready to sit and think, okay, where do I want to go with this? And what are my goals? What do I want to achieve? And I don't feel bad about that at all. It's just an arbitrary date. Who's to say that you have to make it stick on January 1st. So to me, I'm all about February 1st.
Here's the thing. We are going for the Greco-Roman calendar right now, which, there's been multiple types of calendars throughout the millennia. And I'm not going to say that the Greco-Roman is necessarily the best in starting the year in January. January is cold. It's dark. Unless you're in Arizona. Arizona is beautiful. But everywhere else in the world, it's cold, dark, and south of, the equator. Anyway, my point is
all the caveats.
My point is that before we started it in January, the new year always started in the spring. And so technically, if we're looking at spring and then summer, fall, winter, and that's the full cycle of life. And so we're coming to life in the spring. This is what we're doing.
Indeed. So with coming to life, we're going to look back at the past. So get ready to join us as we look back at the animated films of 2025 and talk about them, what we liked, what we didn't like. Plus, we're listening to your voicemails right after this.
We all have that dream trip we've been wishing we could go on. But too often, life, or usually price, gets in the way. That's why Priceline is here to help you turn your dream trip into reality. With up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights, you can book everything you need for your next adventure. Don't just dream about that next trip. Book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com and book your next trip today.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
When you want your spring break to feel like... and your kids' pool day to feel like... and your hotel bed to feel like... ooh, and room service to feel like... because at Hilton, hospitality feels like...
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
It matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
Alrighty, so let's talk about 2025 for animation. Overall, before we look back at these films, and I know we did a mid-year update kind of looking at different things, but we're just going to quickly fly by what were the big releases. Now, as usual, we know there's a whole world of anime theatrical releases that come out at smaller distribution or sometimes big. Those, for the most part, we're just going to skip over because they're not our forte. We kind of stick to the Western animation. But yeah, so overall, before I even look at the specifics of 2025, I don't feel like 2025 was that great of a year for animation. What do you think?
Yeah, there were. I mean, I'm looking back and remembering the looking forward episode and thinking this is not going to be that great of a year.
Yeah.
And looking back now, it's like my expectations were met. So I mean, it's fine. It was actually there were better moments than I thought there would be. But in general, I agree as a whole. But looking at, this first one from January, we were looking at a Wallace and Gromit film. And I remember first, because I had just moved here to Myrtle Beach, and that was the very first movie that I sat down and watched here. So it kind of has a little moment in my heart of like, yes. New everything was happening.
New year, new home, new movie.
Yeah.
New Wallace and Gromit. All right. So that was January. We had Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul. This was a Netflix exclusive, and this came out January 3rd. It kind of kicked off the new year right away. And I remember really enjoying this one. Thinking it was great. It was true to form. Was it as good maybe as some of the other classics? It's up there. I feel like Wallace and Gromit is just consistently good.
Yeah, they know who they are and they stick with it, and I appreciate that.
And then the next one we saw was Dog Man, and this came out. I saw. Well, I'm gonna say we.
Okay.
You could say which ones you saw or didn't see, but yeah, next one that came out was Dog Man. I remember seeing this with my kids at the screening. My son had read all the Dog Man books, so I was really amped about this, and this was just fine. It was really just fine. Never need to see it again. But it did the decent amount for DreamWorks. I think they've really hit home with these films that are lower budget, in quotes, lower. And they're just able to do a consistent amount at the box office. We're not expecting them to do $1 billion. We just want them to do, a couple hundred, and everyone's good. And at least it gives you something for your family to see in January leading into February. That's what I appreciated, because this year, which we'll talk about next episode, there really wasn't anything in January for kids, families to see, or movies in general, I would say. But we'll talk about that later.
But how did your son like Dog Man?
Loved it. Yeah, loved it. But then again,
would he watch it again?
Never talked about it again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It wasn't one that we owned or had, but never said, hey, we need to, can we watch that?
Right.
So then, which I really liked, February 28th, the main one we had in February was The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie.
That was fun.
Loved this one. I thought this was great. There was a lot of push for this one because it was traditionally animated and people were really hoping that this would take off. And I remember telling my friends about it and promoting it and saying, hey, I saw this and this was really one that you should take your family to see. And I specifically remember one of my friends said, yeah, I showed this to my kids, and she says, that looks weird. And I just had a head, down moment, because that's a bummer. That's such a bummer, because it was really very enjoyable. And it was like the perfect spring break movie for families.
Kids these days.
I know. And also another one that could have been a spring break movie was Night of the This is Zoopocalypse. I skipped the poo.
As one should.
Yes, I did that. So this one was fun. This is by Viva Pictures, and this is a smaller studio, and they're really trying to make the name for themselves. They have one that actually in our 2026 is a January release for 2026, and they've released quite a few films over 2025, and I'm on their PR list, so I feel like I see their stuff and I'm aware of what's coming out for them. And this was a kind of like a throwback, not kind of thriller, horror, sci-fi, and where these animals at the zoo are like taken over by zombies. And it was interesting because these two came out so close to each other. And they're very similar themes with these two films we just talked about, the Looney Tunes one and this. But I thought this was fine and really fun, and I was impressed with what it was able to do for being a smaller studio. Didn't do that well in the box office, but doesn't affect the quality. All right, then March 7th, we have Plankton the movie. This was exclusively on Netflix. This was yet another SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And I'm not a SpongeBob person, so I didn't see it. But yes, that was released. All right, next up in April, we have King of Kings. This was released April 11th. And did phenomenally well. This was released by Angel Studios and had been in the works for a while. And this came out a few weeks before Easter. So Easter in 2025 was much later. And I know that the reason this film did so well was the timing of its release with Easter.
Yeah.
A week or two before. I think it came out the week before Easter, and then Easter weekend, a bunch of people ended up seeing it. And then it continued to have legs for a little bit afterward. And Christian families wanted something to see. Mm-hmm. With their families. And this had a great voice cast: Kenneth Branagh, Oscar Isaac, Ben Kingsley, Mark Hamill. And
Hamill.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I think he was Herod. Or he was like a sort of a villain sort of guy. Yeah. Mark Hamill, he loves his voice acting.
He's got range.
Yeah.
I have something to say about the animation in this one. Like, I am looking at the teaser trailer thumbnail.
Yeah.
And just the head just looks like a bobblehead. And I think that, to me, is just like, do I really want to watch this? Like, I don't know. But I like, just from the thumbnail, it just was like, that they probably could have done something different with the neck or something. Like,
well, this is an awkward angle.
I don't know. It's just not a great thumbnail.
Yeah, one thing with the animation, I appreciate studios that are going to try to do something different with their animation style. And to me, the animation style, and I kind of felt like wood carvings, with the very kind of angularness of the characters, like you were carving things from wood, and so you're not really able to smooth things off as much as you would want. It kind of just had that, like a wooden figurine to me, mm-hmm. animated. But yeah, this one was interesting. And, another thing about this is there were 3 different biblical films that were released kind of on the mainstream this year. And this by far was the biggest one. And we'll talk about the other ones as we come along. So then we had Sneaks, April 18th. And this was interesting sort of film. It was about sneakers. And I did not see this one, so I'm just gonna not necessarily talk about it. But then there was, in May, absolutely nothing for families theatrically, at least according to this list that we're looking at, that was there. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, another reason you'd think leading up to Memorial Day, you're going to kind of have something. I think Garfield was maybe released the year prior in this spot, but there's usually something kind of. But this leads us into June 13th, which was Elio. I still can't remember. Elio, right?
Elio? I think it's Elio.
Elio? Okay. That's a problem with this film. It's, among many things, but it just did not work for me.
In Spanish, I would say Elio.
Elio, right? Yeah. Yeah, and Elio was a Pixar film. You remember 10 years ago, whenever Pixar came out with something, the world stopped and paid attention. Mm-hmm. And that is not the case anymore. And I don't really remember anyone talking about this film. I remember people seeing it and, taking their family because
Well, this was also a big deal because you had Elio come out, and then right at the same time, you had all these alien movies had come out in the last little bit, and it was just kind of weird. At the same time, we were seeing random drone swirl things floating around the United States as well. So it was just like, what is happening to our world?
It's a psyop.
Yeah. But we had that, and we also had the live action Lilo and Stitch, which is, are we bringing that up a little later in this?
It's not on this list because this list is just animated films, but you can bring it up right now. But maybe that's the one that came out in May.
Yeah, it came out right around the same time. And so it was, they were fighting for your attention at the time.
Yeah, and Lilo and Stitch 1.
Yeah.
Then in June 20th, we had K-pop Demon Hunters.
Ooh, buddy.
And that was released by Netflix. And you know what? I am so mad because, we get emails and we get requests for interviews, and I'm on Netflix's list. And after this came out and after we saw it and did our episode and all of that, and this became this huge phenomenon, I went back and looked at my inbox, and it was an interview request that we could have done with the directors back in May.
Aww.
And I looked at it and had no idea what this film was, and we get tons of these, so
Yeah.
how are you supposed to know? And
Right. The cultural phenomenon.
you know how I feel about Netflix things.
I know.
Direct
I
to
get
Netflix, they can really be hit or miss.
I know.
And so, that was Morgan's big miss of 2025, was not doing that. That would have been a real obvious thing to do. So,
Well, here's the thing that I find even crazy today is it still gets up on the top 10 of Netflix regularly
Mhm.
in February of 2026. So this is almost 8 months later. So this has a cultural standing.
Mhm. So then July, we had the Smurfs movie, July 18th, and that was fine. That was okay. And what I've noticed is we're watching Beast Games on Amazon Prime, and
Okay.
it has commercials. And Amazon Prime is really funny because some of their commercials, they have house ads, and it's just advertising movies that they have on Amazon Prime. And one of them, the most recent one, was this. They spent a whole 30-second shot or slot saying, "Hey, Amazon Prime has Smurfs." Like, really? This is what your advertising dollars
Please
are
watch
being
this.
used for? Yeah, it was just really funny to me. I'm like, okay, yeah, good to know. August, we had The Bad Guys 2. I thought this was a perfectly fine sequel to The Bad Guys. Not as good as the first one, but still was really, really enjoyable for what it was. And then September, we had Light of the World. And this was by the director was Tom Bancroft. You might know him, fellow animation podcaster with his brother. This is Tom Bancroft, who's been very much involved in animation and traditional animation. And they have the Bancroft Brothers podcast, him and his brother. And I'm so mad because it was busy during this time. And when I'm pregnant, I am just a bump on a log. It's very hard to get motivated. There's something that in my brain, and as soon as the baby comes, like poof, I'm so super productive again. It's very interesting. But this one, I was very sick during this time, and so didn't really get to see this one. And by the time I started feeling better, I reached out for the screener, and it was that whole process was closed.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to rent this and check this out and show it to my kids, and just haven't gotten around to it. And I'm really bummed because I heard it's amazing and it's very good. It's traditionally animated. And yeah, so that one. And I did, though, listen to a lot of the interviews that Tom had done. And, he acknowledges that the timing of the release wasn't necessarily the best, and that, a lot of people didn't really know about it, didn't get kind of the big push that maybe it should have. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, man. And so one of the things he mentioned is that when they ended up getting this financier who was able to fund the project, this person wanted to not have this be in limbo forever. So they really were able to get this in production and ready to go for release within just few very short years. I even want to say like 2 years or something like that. But with that, they wanted it released. And part of me wonders if they would have been better served after having seen how King of Kings had done. Like, I know they wanted to get this out and kind of get it into the world. Instead of a September fall release date, if they would have held off until,
The Christmas time?
2026, Easter of 2026.
Oh,
At
yeah.
the same time, people are excited about Christ. They're looking forward to that.
Right.
And kind of just say, hey, last year you had King of Kings and this year we have this. I really feel like that would have been a huge winning strategy for them. But yeah, that's on my list of things that I need to go back and watch. Next, in October 17th, we have The Twits, which is a Roald Dahl film based on his book. And it was an animated musical fantasy comedy. And it was loosely based on his 1980s children's novel. One, I haven't read that children's novel. I do have a collection that I bought at Costco of all the Roald Dahl books. which
Nice.
we are working through. So I think I'm going to have to read that next with my kids and then watch this one because I didn't end up seeing this one. But I didn't hear anything about this one either. So I'm not sure. Oh my gosh. Told through a firefly named Pippa. Pippa's going to love this. Oh, good times. All right. And the other one, now this one, I was speaking with our friend Rachel Wagner about this one. It was released November 7th on Netflix. And this is called In Your Dreams. And it is a divorce storyline. Apparently, this film tackles the subject of divorce much better than Spellbound, which was also released on Netflix the year prior. Much, much better. So she was really curious to see my thoughts on this one. And again, didn't end up seeing this one. It's on the list. So. And then to wrap it up, we have the last 2 months of the year. We have Zootopia 2, which we now know is the number one animated film of all time, I believe.
Oh my gosh. here's the problem I have with that. And maybe I don't have kids, and so I'm not around kids. So please tell me if I'm wrong. Like, is Zootopia 2 as big as, say, The Little Mermaid was in our day? Like, does it occupy the mind?
Not with my kids.
Like, that's the question I have. Like, just because inflation goes up and now it's making more money than any other movie because of the number, but not necessarily because of the buying power or the actual attention getting. I have a hard time even caring about how much like the number one movie monetarily ever made. I want to know about secondary sales. I want to know how much merchandising is going through these things, because that's the real way to tell. Like Frozen was the merchandise machine, and like you're looking at, even Moana has quite a bit of merchandise out there for it. And so it's like, I feel like those types of movies are going to occupy the mind a lot more in terms of like greatness, as opposed to just a monetary number. Because like I said, like just because inflation goes up does not mean I care more.
I agree. Yeah. Disney, it seems like they don't really necessarily care. It's like, oh
yeah,
money. It's all that matters. And is this culturally impactful? It doesn't really matter because we made a lot of money and we're happy with that.
So we're talking about cultural significance. Like going back to K-pop Demon Hunters, that had it. And for what's so sad is that Sony had it in their hands, in their grasp. I mean, now Netflix was able to take it to theaters as well later on and have a sing-along, because everybody does a sing-along nowadays. And but the thing is, like, my niece saw 3 days in a row. Like she saw it many times on Netflix and then went 3 days in a row to the theaters.
Wow.
So I am amazed at the cultural significance that K-pop Demon Hunters had, especially when you compare it to what Zootopia is being lauded for.
Right.
And it's like, we are not the same,
Yeah. All right. Then in September, we had SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants, that came out December 19th. Can't tell you anything about it because I've never seen an episode of SpongeBob in my life. And I just don't, I don't make an effort to see these movies for that reason.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad. This is the fourth theatrical film for SpongeBob. So the audience is there.
Yeah. Well, you and I didn't have cable, and so this wasn't something that like I never watched any of this. I just remember in high school, I had a boyfriend who as a kid, loved SpongeBob SquarePants and had watched all the movies and would quote it. And I would always just be like glossy face, be like, I have no idea what you're saying. Like, it sounds like English, but I don't know what you're meaning. Yeah. So I've never been able to warm up to SpongeBob. Even I've seen some of the goofiness of it, and it's like, I don't know. I just don't know. We were Simpsons fans, and that's a different world.
Yep, it was. And then same date, December 19th, we had David, which this was the third biblical theatrical film that came out in 2025. Quite a few. That's not precedent. that it happens that way. But that's just how it ended up being, and really enjoyed David. And we have our episode. You can listen to that. And we have episodes for a lot of these actually, definitely reviews for a good majority of them.
So why do you think there were so many Christian Christian, I don't want to say themed, but yes, themed, I guess. They were definitely targeted. Let's say that, because David is both Jew, Christian, Bible believing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily just Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But why do you think that there was so much more this year than in previous years? Is it just that?
I think it just happened to stars align that this is what ended up happening. Because it's not like, I feel like these don't even come out that often. It's not even like every year or 2 years you see, a biblical related film. I mean, the last one there's been obviously ones that have come out, but a handful, so I just think it just ended up working out that way. And I think maybe there's just a lot more interest in it. And so they kind of all started working on it around the same time, and off they came.
Well, I also think that the movie The Chosen, or not the movie, but the series The Chosen, precisely, made a major difference in that whole vibe. Because for a long time, you look at the cultural the cultural zeitgeist of what's happening. Like, you have a secular view versus a Christian view that within the United States goes back and forth. And in the 90s, we had a very strong Christian, I guess, zeitgeist, and then it went way more secular, and now I think it's maybe moving back. Like, the pendulum is swinging a little bit as far as within media. And I don't know, I just think that I honestly believe, so Angel Studios was involved with 3 of these, well, with at least 2 of them, David and the King of Kings, but it also was the one that started The Chosen. So I believe that they had a huge hand in a lot of the shift. And I mean that specifically because these movies and storylines were not your normal Christian dogmatic, like, I'm preachy / really low quality film. So
yeah,
and not to say that was a standard or a rule across time, but it is more often than not.
It was often the way that Christian films were more focused on the message versus the artistry and the craft and the medium. And so that took over. And as a result, the quality of a lot of Christian films or TV shows or series or whatever is lesser and leaves much to be desired because they're so focused on the message. And I think the successful films are able to have a good balance between that, and it doesn't come off preachy. I feel like Prince of Egypt is this example of such a great film that does everything right, because it tells the story of Moses as seen in the Bible, and it doesn't come off or feel preachy at all. God is very much present. They don't shy away from that. They talk about it, and it's just part of the story. And you're living through Moses without feel like you're being preached at that you need to do X, Y, or Z. So
right. And you have amazing music with it. So I'm like, there's no better than Prince of Egypt. Like, it's just the gold standard. But as far as like looking at how all of these shows, specifically, I just started rewatching some episodes of the newer seasons of the Chosen, and just like, they just do a really good job. And that comes down to storytelling specifically. Dallas Jenkins, he's done a really good job with creating the back and forth in the dialogue with that to make it really good. And I don't know, I appreciate the fact that you don't have to be message dogmatic in order to tell a really great story and to be able to get your message across, and so I appreciate the new wave of talent that has come into the Christian media area. It's like, oh good, y'all are okay. And even the Bancroft, like, they worked in Disney for so long, so they know how to tell a great story. And so
Tom, I went to Big Media or the Veggie Tales?
Yeah,
he worked there afterwards.
Veggie Tales, also great storytelling. Like, so this isn't this. I'm not saying all Christian stuff, but like, if you're a Christian And even if you're not, like, you just know, like, this is bad. And you're not afraid, like, it's my own team, but I also am being like, this is not something that I'm going to share with somebody else. This is something that I can understand and I get, and I'm like, all right, fine, but it's not something that I'm not going to promote this out as something, as a representation of me.
Yeah. All right, so wrapping up 2025 before we get into voicemails. Overall, it was kind of a very meh year of animation. I think of different years, like I think of 2010 and how incredible 2010 was for animation. You know, you had Tangled, you had How to Train Your Dragon, you had, just tons of films that just are staples, tentpole, Despicable Me, right? So many, it stamped an era onto your soul, right?
Yeah.
And 2025, as far as animation goes, all I'm really going to remember about this year was K-pop Demon Hunters. And there were a lot of Christian-based films released, and Looney Tunes tried.
Looney Tunes tried. Aw. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
All right, we are back with our voicemails. We have 4 voicemails. 2 of these are from the fall, and then 2 are from just this end of year voicemail bag that we're going to have. So buckle up, get ready, and we're going to kick it off with, and before I start, all 3 of these are J names. So apparently, if you have a J name, you are in the club for the voicemails. And we're going to kick it off with a well-known voice.
Is this Jeremiah?
It is Jeremiah. Let's go.
Rotoscopers.
Hold on. There we go.
Hi, Rotoscopers. It's Jeremiah. I've been unsure what to call about first. I have a few voicemails on the back burner. One is about luck. I actually am officially one of the 14 people on the planet who really enjoyed that movie. So I really wanted to defend it. I am so serious about this. I am re-listening to your episode on it and taking notes. I am probably going to get Apple TV again in order to rewatch the film. I really want to nail this because so few people liked Luck, and I truly believe it's a reasonably well-crafted movie. But I'm not calling about an animated movie.
Not today.
I'm calling about Jane Austen. You've mentioned Jane Austen a few times on the podcast, and I've always squealed inside because she's my favorite author. So my questions are, do you have a favorite Jane Austen book?
Pause.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite Jane Austen book?
Well, Pride and Prejudice is the gold standard, I believe. I've read and reread it, and funnily, ironically, non-ironically enough, I started watching the 6-hour version yesterday, just because.
He will be mentioning this. Yeah.
So I was watching earlier before this morning too, just in the background. I was like, it's such a. See, I like it because it's just such a nostalgic comfort movie,
warm
that
blanket of a film book. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't have to turn my brain on at all. I can just enjoy it.
Yeah, I would say Pride and Prejudice, and I know that is very traditional and expected, but I can go back and read that book again and again and again and always just pull something out of it, enjoy myself, even though I know what's happening. I find it incredibly enjoyable, as all her books, but that one is so good. And then obviously the
dialogue is just so interactive, and like you just get it. She just
the commentary that she has on the sexes and relationships and just human nature is so profound. So she does it. She's such a master of the novel. So let's continue.
what are your thoughts on the 1995 Pride and Prejudice by BBC?
What are your thoughts? I love it. I can go back and watch that one. The fact that it's 6 hours is not a deterrent to me in the
No,
least.
not at all.
It is perfection. So-
Like, remember when we were watching the Barbie movie, and at the very end, there's the part where it's like, just because we're going back and rewatching the 6 hour Pride and Prejudice, and it's just like, where's the lie?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's true. Like, that's the one I'm watching right now.
Although I do absolutely adore the Keira Knightley one. I think that's my favorite because it's a little bit more bite size. But when I really want a good, I have a good chunk of time, obviously you're going to go to the BBC.
Statue in Hyde Park, London, of Colin Firth Darcy in his much praised, wet, translucent, clinging shirt.
I did
Yes, that's how much horny ladies love that moment. Unfortunately, its face is quite hideous, unlike Firth. I could ask more about Jane Austen and happily talk for another hour about her, but I'll end this by trying to tie it back to animation.
Okay, before he talks this, we have been in talks with our friend Jonathan, and Jonathan is the master. He has a podcast, and he is a master of his schedule. He will reach out to you 6 months to a year before he expects you to be on his show.
I know, yeah.
And it's the best. Like, it is, it's awesome. He's just so awesome. And he has been talking to Chelsea and I about, he has a show called Every Version Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so we're going to be talking about all the different versions of Pride and Prejudice. And so get ready for that. We're definitely going to have to do all our homework, which I gladly will do. Yes.
I have watched, there are a couple versions that you can watch, and I have watched another one that was like from like the 40s, I believe.
Mhm.
And it's not good. And
Mhm.
it's like, it's also weird because they all have like different period costumes. It looks like somebody just rated whatever costume like department was there.
Yeah.
And it's like not it's not to the period at all.
Oh, is that the one where it's kind of like antebellum?
Yeah.
Wait.
It's weird.
Yes. I remember.
So that one is not good.
Yeah.
And I was not a fan of that one. And then going in and watching the 1995, like it is the gold standard. And then Keira Knightley is also, just like you, I'll watch that one just for like the shorter version above this with the same kind of points. And I do also appreciate the different vibes that each one of them has for all of the characters. Yeah, so there's certain characters that I really like in the Keira Knightley version, and there's some characters that I just really prefer in the other. So yeah, let's
Okay.
hear more Jeremiah. We should just have one.
If you were to adapt a Jane Austen book to animation, how would you do it? Which book would you choose? Which studio would you want? Which director would you have in mind? And which voice actors would you cast? Also, would you add some things to make it more interesting than animation? There's a reason Jane Austen movies are all live action. The characters mostly just talk and occasionally dance. So, would you go to the Treasure Planet route and have it in space? Would you make it a fantasy? Would you make it an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice Zombies, which I have not read or seen, but some people say is actually not bad? Also, one last thing. In the description of episode 303, Big Ol' Mailbag, it says you talk about why I have the perfect voice for a YouTube channel. I listened to the episode and heard nothing about my voice. So I'm curious, why is my voice perfect for a YouTube channel?
Oh, I don't know.
I ask partially because I'm quite interested in starting a YouTube channel someday. Okay, thanks, Rotoscopers. Bye.
I haven't gone back to listen to that specific episode to know if we cut something out or whatever, but you do have a fantastic voice for that. And it's very reasons why I like it, and something that you would lean into, just from my own view, is to take it. And I love the fact that you can take advantage of the musical spectrum within your voice. So it's not just very monotone, but you do go up and down and go like, so you do have that musical quality that I appreciate, and not everybody can do that. You have to be very careful about not doing it too much, obviously. But you do have it, and I think that especially within YouTube, if you're planning on doing like a background voice to something, I think you would do great.
Or a video essay.
Video essayists, yeah.
So, okay, different animated adaptation of Jane Austen. Great idea. Why hasn't someone hopped on and done this? So, just to recap the different books that potentially you could do: Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, Persuasion, Northanger Abbey, and Sanditon. Let's just stick with the Pride and Prejudice since we're kind of on this train. And if we were to do an animated version of Pride and Prejudice, who would the director be? What studio? I mean, you have to do 2D. Like, okay, if I'm in charge, I'm making it 2D. I'm bringing all the guys back, and I'm talking all the Disney guys that were, the Deja, the Bancroft brothers. We're bringing them back. We're bringing Aaron Blaise. I mean, he's the animal guy, but hey, well, he's also he can do some of our other characters. He can do everything. Okay, he's not just an animal guy.
Right.
I bring them all back. Just an A team of people, because I think that's the most important part. When I think of these dancing scenes, you can do it really well in animation and really make it very interesting. And so obviously one of the most well-known iconic ballroom scenes is from Beauty and the Beast, and just think of how incredible that is. And as far as the director, I don't really have a director off the top of my head, but it would be someone who has very much respect for the source material, such as Peter Jackson understanding the Lord of the Rings very, very well. You have to really, and I wouldn't go the route of doing like the Treasure Planet. We're going to like switch genres and do Pride and Prejudice in space or whatever. I would just make it a very true adaptation and lean into the seriousness of it and not try to make it silly. Or there are a few silly moments, but yeah. Man, I would need to ruminate on this a little bit more.
Oh, I already know.
Okay.
Muppets.
Yes, amazing.
I don't know why it hasn't been done.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay, if we're going to lean into this. So Muppets, and we would do it the way where the Muppets Christmas Carol did it, where there's only one human character. But in this case, there'd be two human characters, right? It would be Elizabeth and Darcy. It would be the only human characters, and everyone else would be Muppets.
Or you could do it. Darcy is Kermit, which you could do. You could also do where Darcy is the only human, and you have Elizabeth as Miss Piggy.
Which that would be quite the role for her. She'd have to be serious.
Yeah. Or you just keep
and she do it.
Well, the thing is, here's the thing. I would put Miss Piggy as the mother, as Mrs. Bennet.
Yes.
But I don't think her as an actress would be up for that. I don't think she would. She would probably.
That's why I feel having two human actors.
Yeah.
And then she could be the mom. Kermit potentially could be the dad. I don't know. There's lots of people. Or you could have the bird, the American
Fozzie
bird
would absolutely do great as. I definitely see Fozzie as a Mr. Bingley. I can absolutely see. I can absolutely see some really great things with Mr. Collins as maybe animal or something. I don't know.
Yes, keep going.
I'm just saying. Okay. But yes, the Muppets is the only way to go. And in the comments, I want everybody to say who they would cast as all the things.
Okay.
Because this is how life needs. I don't know why this hasn't happened. Every time that we put out, maybe we should just make this a April Fool's Day thing, because then it'll actually happen.
Okay.
Because we know how Disney does that with our April Fool's stuff. So.
All right. So thanks, Jeremiah. We will hear from you real soon later in our voicemail bag. And now we're going to talk to Jessie.
Rotoscopers. This is Jazzy Anae with a theater report over the K-pop Demon Hunter sing-along from last August. Unlike most screenings that weekend, which had a full house, mine only had a handful of people occupying the theater. However, I've noted a key observation with this particular viewing. There were a lot of quiet moments throughout the movie, and I'm not just referring to scenes without a score, but those that take its time to flesh out character relationships. I see it a lot more with the Huntrix girls whenever they talk amongst themselves. Even in the part where they realize Rumi lost her voice, they silently convey their bond through their actions towards her. Harking back to your comments on Wish, which I'll always use as a counterargument, the film roughly had the same runtime as K-pop Demon Hunters, yet it rushed through the story without fleshing out the characters and key interactions. For the movie overall, I'll give it 5 stars, only behind Into the Spider-Verse as my #1 Sony film. My only nitpick is how it didn't expand on the Hunters' lore, especially the Sunlight Sisters, their predecessor, but I know for certain that the sequel will do that. Thank you very much, and have a magical day.
Yeah, it's very appropriate that this voicemail is about K-pop Demon Hunters, because 2025 really was the year of the K-pop Demon Hunters. And this sing-along, which I love. I love that they do this. I love that they were kind of coerced into doing this. Netflix had to break their own model, and how successful it was. And yeah, it's so interesting. Everyone's theater experiences were totally different. Mine, people were singing. I know others, 0 people were singing. And it's just, you got everything in between. All right, next up is Jana.
Hello, Chelsea and Morgan. This is Jana, your BFF from the 90s. You ladies featured my call on episode 349, the mid-year mailbag. And I can't tell you how excited I was to know that we connected and you featured my voicemail. But then I was instantly horrified that my call led to episode 350, Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue. I was like, oh no, this is my contribution to your beautiful podcast. Now, ladies, just to be clear, I did recommend that you go and watch this, but not because it was the source of beautiful childhood memories for you. No, my friends, this was, you might say, one of those moments in my childhood where I wasn't sure if I was having a fever dream. But no, Cartoon All-Stars is real. It's very real. But all that being said, I really enjoyed listening to the episode, especially the throwback to the DARE program. So I wanted to say thank you for taking my suggestion, and it was so lovely to connect with y'all. Now, I have an idea, and I'm sorry if you've already done this and I just don't know it yet, but I'd love to hear you rank the Disney Saturday morning show theme songs from the cartoons in the 80s and 90s. I already know what my #1 theme song would be, but I don't want to bias your opinion. Thank you, ladies, for what you're doing. I love y'all and your show and your random quotes from The Simpsons. Take care. Bye.
Oh, see, there are people who appreciate random Simpsons quotes.
How perfect that
we just did watching The Simpsons, my husband and I, because he'd never seen it. You know, he was never allowed to watch Simpsons, as many were. And we stopped in the end of season 7. He kind of hit the point where he's like, okay, I get it. You know, episodes started to kind of be like, are they good? Are they not? But I know my plan with him was to go to season 10, but now we've moved on to Seinfeld, so that's fine. Anyway, yeah, that's a funny episode, the Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue. It actually gets searched a lot on YouTube, and people find the podcast through that episode because it's just a random thing that people are searching for. And I don't think it has a lot of content, you know, people making video essays about that. So our episode pops up.
Well, it was fun to go back on it. And that's one of those, you just have to appreciate the randomness of that. And that's what we did. So thank you for your contribution. It was fun.
Hi, Rotoscopers. It's Jeremiah. I heard your request to your listeners that we send in our reviews of 2025 animated films and our hopes for animation in 2026. I saw 0 new animated films in 2025. The films just weren't grabbing me from the trailers. The Twits looked pretty bad. In Your Dreams looked pretty bad. I did enjoy the bad guys, and I was curious to see the bad guys too, and I do want to see it, but I didn't love the first one so much. I just had to see it in theaters. I know a lot of people really, really loved the first movie. I thought it was very good, but to me it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is S-tier comedy, I have to go to the theater, you know? So I will just review the 2 films I have seen in part. We'll start with K-pop Demon Hunters. Oh my gosh. I got so invested in this so fast. I loved how they established lore so fast, but so effectively as well. The action sequences followed was so fun, so unapologetically silly, but so exciting. You know, the demons were intimidating, but again, there's more unapologetic silliness, and it was quite funny. I was really into Golden. I thought it was a lovely song, and I am so not mad that it's winning all the awards. And then that reveal that, spoiler alert, one of the demon hunters herself is a demon. That was so astonishing to me. And then my sister suggested that the 4 of us siblings watch the film together because it's one of her favorite movies that she's seen recently. And the result is, I still have not finished that movie. We still have not watched it together. So I hope we get to see it soon because I really was enjoying it. And I really think it will be my favorite film, period, of 2025. Not just my favorite animated film, but my favorite film, period. Okay, and the second film I saw in part was David. Angel Studios released so much material from that film online. Illumination style, kind of. Full disclosure, I'm an atheist. I wouldn't have it any other way. So it's hard for me to review what I have seen of a biblical movie. You know, after becoming an atheist, I was kind of ascertaining for myself, do I still think what I was obliged to think before, or trying to think before, that the Bible is the greatest piece of literature ever written, that is the most important book in the world? And, you know, is it a better book than anything Shakespeare's ever written? Is it better crafted than Jane Austen? Is the wisdom greater than anything Confucius ever wrote, for example, or anything that the Buddha is said to have imparted? And for me, the answer was emphatically no. So that's where I'm at. I have a lot of respect for the biblical narrative, and some of the parts of it I'm still fond of, but, you know, other parts I'm not fond of at all. So that's where I'm at. And it was interesting to hear you guys discuss the biblical story because you guys yourselves were like, you know, the most compelling part of the David and Goliath story kind of comes and goes pretty early on. Like the visual of a young boy versus a giant is so compelling, and there's a reason it's so iconic. And then the rest of the story doesn't really have anything like that, never really rises to that level. So once you stop seeing it as just history and as a story, it's not as interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think this is a good, Jeremiah is a good person to weigh, is this a good film for all audiences, right? Like, is it really going to rise to this level where it's going to appeal to everyone, no matter what your belief is? Just as what I believe most people really enjoy Prince of Egypt to be, whether you're religious or not, right? I think generally that is well regarded by everyone. Mm-hmm. And so that's really like we talked about, this is really something that if you're making one of these films, do you want to lean into that? Or is that something that just naturally comes as part of your storytelling, that it's going to appeal to all? Or are you specifically making it so that way believers will resonate only with it? You know what I'm saying? I guess there's two different ways that you can make the film, and it doesn't make one better or worse. You just have kind of like, you're having two different audiences in that way.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with David for me, as I said in the original review, is that the story of David it's messy. And in one story, it's hard, like the most heroic one is definitely, and short and sweet and like concise, is the hero's story of David and Goliath. But the content within the Bible is not enough to fill 90 minutes, but also too much to fill a short, or would like to be. It's more of like an hour-long film rather than an hour and a half or two. And so they couldn't find the good ending point to really hit that sweet spot of 90 minutes. And so it let it go a little loosey-goosey.
Let's listen. Let's keep going.
I'm sure I would enjoy the David film well enough, but then there's also the song. Chelsea was saying she really enjoyed the songs, that she thought they had a really good rhythm with the drums and all. I thought the song sounded fine. I'm a big musical theater guy to some degree. Well, I'm a big musical theater guy who hates a lot of contemporary musical theater, but that's another story.
Good for you. I agree.
I can respect that. Yeah. Okay.
We're on the same page there.
These songs, I mean, for example, lyrically, let's focus on that. Follow the Light, for example. Well, just the year before David came out, we had Look for the Light, Spellbound. So this is very much a trope in media to sing about or to use light as a metaphor for goodness. It's very trite to me. And it's hard to feel fresh when you use it. It can be done effectively, of course, but I'm not sure it was here.
The problem with the Follow the Light is that it just repeats Follow the Light over and over and over again. That's like the main, like my kids are singing around the house one of the days, and that was the only part they were singing because that's really the only part of the song that's memorable, but it's just repeated way too much. Yeah.
And, of course it was singing about specifically the light of goodness as in the light of God's goodness. However, that itself is another cliche within Christian media. So that didn't really make it feel fresh to me either. Or the rhythm of grace. What does that mean? Like, to me, that is such a corny title. I'm sorry. Like, you could fill a silo with that much corn? I don't get it. What does that mean? What does that mean metaphorically? What does that mean to you? I'd be curious. Those are my thoughts on David. I know I sounded a little cold because, I mean, the animation is beautiful, which you can kind of expect at this point. Movies nearly always have good animation. But still, I mean, I really appreciated this animation, especially. I agreed with everything you said about it. I thought Israel looked absolutely beautiful, or the Middle East, rather, looked absolutely beautiful. Nature and, the character designs and David himself, very wide-eyed, very energetic, very much out there throwing his arms back and running around. He did that quite a lot, but it never got old for me. It never got to be too much, at least in the little bits of the film that I did see. So yes, really appreciated the animation. I wasn't as impressed with some other aspects of the movie.
All right. Thank you to everyone who sent in voicemails. Of course, you can always send voicemails to rotoscopers.com/voicemails or give us a call at 406-646-6575. And we will keep those in our good old mailbag. We'll hold to them tight until we do another mailbag episode, and then we will talk about them. So thank you for joining us for our 2025 look back at animation. Hopefully next year, 2026, is much more exciting and much better, but we will find out. So until next time,
we are the
Rotoscopers. You've been listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag Animation Addicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.